Well, it's Eurovision week, and in the words of many great Eurovision philosophers, who doesn't like a semi? Hello everyone and welcome back to another video on the ESC Harry channel. I hope you're all doing very well indeed. Today, I'm going to be giving you my review of the semi-final one jury show for Eurovision 2025. And yes, I know technically it's not actually a jury show because they don't vote in the semi-finals, but for me, the day before show will always be the jury show, so tough luck if you don't like it. But yes, happy Eurovision semi-final one day. We are hours away from the first major show of Eurovision 2025 and also less than a week away from it all being over now. Let's not think about that last fact. I am in Basel recording this from my hotel room, as you can see. If I am slightly quieter, it is only just because I'm in my hotel room rather than in the comfort of my own house. You should be able to hear me fairly well enough, I'd like to think. But yes, I have had the honor of getting online press for this year's Eurovision, and I was able to watch all the performances from semi-final one last night, including the automatic qualifiers of Spain, Italy, and Switzerland. So I'll be talking about those as well. But yes, I will be obviously giving you my initial thoughts on the stagings for all the songs in semi-final one and an updated ranking on who I think is going to be qualifying tonight from this semi-final. I will say a couple things go without saying. There are some stagings that I don't particularly like that I still think are qualifying, and there are some stagings that I like and still don't think are qualifying. Those two things can happen. And of course, there will be some spoilers of certain degrees depending on the country that I will be giving out here. If you don't want to know those before seeing the show tonight, maybe watch this after. I mean, obviously I'd love you to watch it because it's my channel, but I completely respect if you want to stay spoiler-free before the show tonight, maybe this is not the video for you. But before we get into my thoughts, make sure to like this video if you enjoy it, subscribe if you're new to ESC Harry, and comment down below who do you think is qualifying from semi-final one and who in general are just some of your favorites from this semi-final. With that being said, let's get to reviewing. So I will be doing these reviews in running order, as you can imagine. So kicking us off, we have Iceland. Now, the funny thing is about a lot of the performances in the first half is a good review could just be very similar to the national final, and it is very much the case in Iceland's case. Their staging is very similar to the one that we saw in Keppnin. It has the rowing blue theme, it has the boat, it has the Poland-like effects, as I've called them, where they're swatting away the animals and such, which is ironic because Poland is performing after them. But on top of that, it still has the high energy and high impact that the Keppnin staging had. And I really enjoyed this still. I think it's a fantastic opener. It's going to get everyone up on their feet. And yeah, the high energy nature of it, I think really stands out, especially in a recap after this. A couple of changes that I will note. There are some more volcanic imagery at various points during the staging. There is also a nod to Minecraft in the imagery. If anyone has seen their YouTube channel, you will know that vibe love to play Minecraft. So that's a nice little touch there. The only thing I would say as a negative is the vocals, while they have improved since Keppnin, are far from perfect still. But of course, the televote aren't necessarily looking at vocals unless they are very drastically off-putting. And in Vibe's case, I do not see that. I still had a really good time listening to this. And yeah, it's still one of my favorites from this semi-final. And thumbs up as an opener for Iceland. So up next, song 2 is Poland, and Justina, like Vibe, is very similar to her national final staging. An interesting note though is they've added a lot more blue into this staging in the color scheme and LEDs, which is fascinating because now the color scheme for this is blue and like an orangey gold like staging and color scheme, which is very similar to Vibe in the first spot, where the volcanic imagery in Vibe's performance now adds a bit of that orange tang and, blue and orange. It's odd that they've put these two together, I have to admit. Like, both dance upbeat. I know it's different styles to an extent, but I don't think it helps either of them out, put it that way. Obviously, as you can imagine, the choreography and the high energy nature of Justina's performance is still there. I don't know what it was, though, about the staging for this. Something about it just didn't click with me as much as it did in the national final performance. I don't know, there was just something missing for me, which is odd because a lot of it is fairly similar. The gladiator style, like warrior outfit, the dance routine, all the parts that if you are a fan of this song, you will enjoy this. But yeah, I don't know whether it was just as simple as I didn't particularly like the blue nature of a lot of the staging. I preferred it when it was that moody, orangey dark. I just think it stood out more. And it does get to those points at sections of the song, but for a lot of it is blue. And I don't know, I just don't think it works as well. Up next, we have the first ballad in the semi-final, and that would be Slovenia with Clement. And how much time do we have left? While there are a couple things that are very similar to the EMA performance, for example, the simple lighting effects and the fact that he does go upside down at one point during the performance. It's the same point as EMA, the second chorus, he goes upside down. There is a couple of nice changes that they've added. For example, at the beginning, there is a projector-like camera shot where you see some video footage of his wife and his family, obviously linking to the meaning of the song. And actually at the end, I don't think this is a massive spoiler because this was in the second rehearsal clip. His wife does appear at the end in a lovely camera shot that just rolls around where she's there. I believe this is the first time that someone's partner has appeared on stage in like this capacity since Finland 2018 with When We're Old. I know that, I mean, technically Gojo's performing with his girlfriend in his performance in semi-final 2, I'm aware, but it's not a similar style to what Clement's doing here. Overall, actually, despite me not loving the song, I actually think this is quite nice and simple, and it's a nice change of pace after Iceland and Poland. This will stand out, and to be fair, this is one of the only real proper ballads in this semi-final, so who knows, maybe this could sneak in. I don't know. It would be a shock still, but you never know. I do think with the staging, they have elevated their chances of qualifying for the final at least. Song 4 is Estonia, Tommy Cash with Espresso Macchiato. Now, for anyone hoping that he would be elevating his staging from Esti Lau, he hasn't really, I don't think. The choreography is near on identical. The only bit that really changes from the choreography is there is a fan that runs on and dances with Tommy Cash at the last chorus. Like, the security guards try and hold her off, but in the end she gets through. Like, it is part of the show. Like, when you see that tonight, do not think that a stage invader has run onto the stage or anything like that. That is part of the show. The main things that have changed are the LEDs. At one point, there is a sign that says Tommywood. There is also a dancing aeroplane, which, okay. And then I think the main one that people are talking about is at the start. He's at the Winners Cafe. And, okay, he is playing a character. I fully appreciate that, but a little bit arrogant, I have to admit. It doesn't, like, annoy me as much as it has other people, but just like, you know, those kind of things can rub people off the wrong way, put it that way. But yes, I still think this will do probably well in the semi-final and at Eurovision. I don't necessarily doubt that. It has those fun, quirky moments that a lot of people watch Eurovision for. Is this staging and song for me, though? No, put it that way. Up next, we have the first of the automatic qualifiers performing now with Essa Diva by Melody. Now, what's interesting about this staging is, despite the song itself going through a revamp since Benidorm Fest, the essence of the staging is still very much there from Benidorm Fest. Also the hat. I think the hat is still the same from the one that we saw at Benidorm Fest. How many times can I say Benidorm Fest in this review? Probably too many. The staging itself, I would say, overall feels a little bit more grand, though, than the one in Benidorm Fest. I love the beginning. It very much focuses and makes Melody feel like a star. And I think, to be fair, the overall performance is about making Melody feel like a star, like a diva. Like, she is the focal point by far. Like, they track her throughout the performance as she moves throughout the stage. And there's some nice lighting and camera work that, you know, like paparazzi-like, at the beginning in particular. So yeah, from that aspect, they do a really good job with this staging. And on top of that, there's more like a Greek mythological feel with like some there's some imagery in the LEDs that's like Greek pythons. I've almost definitely butchered that. It's like tall bits of stone and rock. You'll know what I mean when you see it later. But one thing I will say is I think after the opening, which I did really enjoy, the rest of the performance can just sort of go along. There's not as many standout moments as I would like after the first minute. So from that aspect, it's a little bit of a letdown and it sort of just carries on. The dancing is good. Obviously there's dancing and it's very solid. Melody's vocals are quite good as well. But yeah, there's just something that is not quite clicking after the first minute when she goes in front of a curtain. The first part is like not backstage, but the audience can't see it. Overall, people that like Spain's entry will like the essence of this staging and will have a good time with it. It's just something that I don't know if it's good enough to potentially put it in the top half or anything like that when it comes to the final on Saturday. Okay, back to the semi-finalists, and up next it is Ukraine. The main thing that stands out for me in this performance is the good opening and ending. It really bookends this performance very well, linking to a female vocalist that has a light in her hand. It's very striking imagery, and Ziffer, the main singer in Ziffer, plays with that at the end. You'll see what I mean. It's easier to see than describe, I would say. But yeah, I like the bookending of this performance. The actual middle portion, I have to say I'm a bit let down. I actually preferred the Vidbeer staging just because it had a little bit more storytelling with the flower and the garden. It worked a bit better for me than what they've gone for here, which is very neon colors, very striking. There's actually even a soft filter in there as well, which I would say take it or leave it. I'm not entirely sure. It does make it stand out, I'll give it that, but it was almost off-putting. I didn't know whether it was my internet playing up when I saw that soft filter or if it was just, an actual thing on stage. Turns out it was a thing that was meant to happen in the performance. And for whatever reason, it just had a lack of energy, the performance, and it just didn't click with me, which I'm really annoyed, not the right word, gutted by, because Ukraine often are the specialists at elevating staging from Vidbeer. We saw last year what they did with Teresa and Maria. Mwah, 10 out of 10. This one, I would say, is one of their weaker ones. But yeah, overall, there's still a nice song. There's elements I enjoy. I just would have expected more maybe from a Ukraine staging. Up next, we go to Sweden. And I'll be honest, I'm going to keep this one fairly short just because it is very similar to the staging in the national final. If you know the national final staging, you will know what you're going to be seeing tonight in the semi-final. The main things I would say have changed is a simple sense of elevation, even from the fact that the guy's sausage is bigger. Not in that sense, you dirty-minded people. But also there are some live trees on stage, and the LEDs give a nice, more world-building view than I think it did at Melfest, just because it's a bigger stage and a bigger LED, so it's able to do that. But yeah, if you love the staging at Melfest, you're going to love this, and it is definitely still a potential winner. I'm not downselling it by speaking about it less. It's just, you've seen the Melody Festivalen staging, so you'll know what is coming on stage, and it's still really, really good. Don't get me wrong, Sweden is still fantastic, and yeah, it will definitely stand out and is almost certainly going to be winning this semi-final. Up next, we go to something very different to Sweden in Portugal, closing out the first half with Napa. I think the overall vibe I would say for the staging is it is very, very chill. And obviously that does link to the song itself. The only thing I would say is I don't know if it's too chill is my concern. I don't know. It's a very nice contrast to Kai and Bala Bala Basto. And it's even a nice contrast to Caio Alessandro with Lighter coming after this. It's just something where I don't know whether the fans at home are going to connect with this and pick up the phone for this. The main standout point for me is it has a lovely color scheme, and that really helps create the mood, create the chill vibe. However, one thing they have missed out on is they've missed out on the opportunity to really tell the story of the song. With it being in Portuguese, I think that would have helped. I'm not saying it has to be in your face or like so explicit, but just some nods in the LED I think would have helped, but that's not really Portugal style. I didn't expect it, but I was hoping for it. So while it will still have its audience, this song, just from its style and genre, I do still question whether enough people will vote for it to get Portugal into the final this year. So on to the second half now, and up first we go to Norway. Now, if you were wondering, is this very similar to the staging in the national final? You'd be correct, 500 points to you. But I don't suppose we necessarily expected anything different from Carl Alessandro with Lighter. It still has the massive prop. It still has the armor that MGP had. I presume that, especially knowing some pictures from Parg staging in Armenia, that he won the battle of the armor-like outfit. He won the game of rock, paper, scissors eventually. Overall, it was definitely a solid staging. His entry is very much sold on his energy and his dancing ability, which is there. For those wondering about the vocals, especially after MGP, which is auto-tuned, they are fine. I think they do enough to carry the song. They are not spectacular. The last couple notes do need a little bit of work. They can, like, they're bordering on like not working and being off. And the recap section for this is the last note. So Kyle needs to make sure he does hit those tonight. And also, for anyone wondering, there was a 1 second bit added just before the dance break. Pretty much does naff all, I'll be honest. Like, I think it's just there to help Kyle get into position, which, fair enough, I don't blame him. But yeah, solid stuff, which I still think will attract a general audience that will like this style and will probably vote for this enough to get it into the final. Right, up next is Belgium with Red Sebastian and Strobe Lights. So I was making notes during all of these performances, and the first one I've just put in all capitals is red. I almost put that before the staging even happened because, yeah, obviously the theming is red. It's Red Sebastian after all. The main hook for this performance is the Red Sebastian clones, and yes, I am gutted I've not been able to come up with a pun for them either. But yes, at various points he's either looking at himself in the LED or there is Red Sebastian clothes on stage with him. They do a combination of dancing with him, singing with him as well. He walks through them, copies his movements. It's an interesting staging. It definitely does stand out in this field. And on top of that, the staging just in general has some hypnotizing moments. The LED is very Illuminati with triangles and eyes in the middle, which I think can work with the trance nature of this song. Like when you're in a trance state, it's like your eyes connect with them. I could be speaking complete rubbish here, but hopefully you understand what I mean by the link to trance to hypnotization. And some people have really loved the stage from what I've seen in the press center. I'm not completely crazy about it. I do think it goes a little bit overboard. Like the person I was watching with said his initial staging at the showcase song where he's just standing on the stage and nothing's really happening, he's just using his just general energy, works better. I'm like, you know, I don't hate that take. Like, I get you've got to elevate it for the stage at Eurovision, but there was just something like too much in this. That being said, I might be in the minority there, and as I said, this does help it stand out. So maybe in some ways, especially along with the fact that his vocals were, you know, still really good, this will attract voters and help it be memorable for them once all the songs have performed. Up next, we have the second automatic qualifier performing tonight in Italy. Now, the choreography, in a loose sense, because he's not actually dancing, but his movements are very similar to the ones in Sanremo. He starts on the piano, gets up, goes to the guitar. There's also an extra performer on there, the person he wrote the song with, I believe. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. Apologies if I am. There's a link to the song in the second person. But the two main differences from the Sanremo stage is there are massive old school speakers on stage with them, and the actual song itself is translated underneath in just like subtitles. I'll be honest, not crazy about the subtitles. I think it just looks a bit cheap, like someone's turned on the subtitle caption on a YouTube video. I get why they did it, because the meaning of the song is important and most people do not speak Italian. However, I feel like in a way it's cheating. Even though it's not cheating, you can put the subtitles there, but it just feels a bit lazy. Like, tell the story of the song through the actual staging itself rather than just add a bit of like sans aerial text at the bottom of the graphic. Like, you know, put it this way, Italy in 2018 did translated lyrics, but they did it in cool graphic ways, which really elevated the staging. This is not that. So a bit disappointed by Italy's staging, although I will say one bit I love at the end is at the end of the performance, he actually plays the harmonica instead of singing and the other man sings itself. That's a nice touch. I think that really adds a mood and a vibe to the song. So that I really enjoy. The rest of it, take it or leave it. Up next, we have Azerbaijan, and I think of all the acts tonight, this one suffers the most from a couple of moments of rough vocals. Now, as most people know, singing high-pitched, especially for a male, is really hard. It is incredibly hard to sustain that for as long as the lead singer of Pamgaea has to do. Pretty much the entire thing is high-pitched. And especially in the beginning, the verses for both sections, they are where they're most rough. And that's the introducing point for the audience. So if they're rough, immediately they're going to switch out. So they do need to improve for tonight's performance. The actual staging itself, I think, is fine. Like, there's a mixture of real and LED dancers for the chorus in particular. That creates a nice, like, togetherness disco feel to an extent with this staging. But a lot of it does also feel quite condensed. It's very much in a condensed, similar small spot. And nothing really happens in the ethnic drops other than he just plays his guitar while walking around the stage and just loads of camera shots of them just playing instruments. I would have liked a little bit more there because that is a standout moment in the song and nothing really happens for you to remember it by the end of it. So yeah, overall I think the staging is a little bit of a letdown for Azerbaijan, which is a shame because I really do like the song and I don't know if this has given it much of a chance of qualifying compared to the song itself. Speaking of stagings that sadly have not given the song itself a good chance of qualifying, up next it is San Marino. And this breaks my heart. I do love the song. I think it's fantastic. It's very fun live. And I think you can see that if you've seen the press polls, a lot of people love this one live. And I think there is an energy there that just isn't translating on the TV or my computer, for example. There is some fun imagery of Italian things being a bit quirky. Like, for example, at the beginning, it's Alexander the Great's statue chewing bubblegum for reasons. There is also an LED of the Vesuvian Man. Fun fact, this is not going to be the only reference to the Vesuvian Man in this semi-final. It's odd that there's two of them, I will say. But yeah, also the color scheme is more pink and it feels darker than the San Remo, or not the San Marino national final performance, I should say, where it was splashes of green, red and white Italian colors. It just worked a little bit better, I found. It was messy, it was fun, it was bright. This one, the color scheme doesn't work for me, sadly. And on top of that, the problem is when you've got a DJ, you are going to struggle for a focal point for the performance. It just feels like it goes everywhere. There's nothing to really latch onto in the middle. It just feels chaotic in not a great way. So yeah, I do love the song in San Marino, and I appreciate it is 10th in the odds at the time of recording to qualify, but I don't see it, sadly, which is a real shame. I'd love to be wrong, because I do love San Marino and this entry. So up next is Albania, and this is phenomenal. This is outstanding. I've even written in my notes, the last note I wrote after I saw the whole performance for this was, best Albanian staging ever. And I believe that still now, like after I've had a rest and had time to think about it, yeah, I think it is the best Albanian staging ever. There is just an energy from the start of this song that you're just like, okay, this is going to be something spectacular. And Beatrice is a star in this staging, like her movements, just the way she commands the stage. It's all spectacular. And I'm sure fans of Festival de Cengiz would have seen this coming from a mile away. It is elevated from that staging. There's some lovely mixture of reds throughout the most part in terms of the color scheme, but also there's some black and white mosaic imagery that plays in with the chorus, and also a lovely split at one point between Beatrice and the male, forgive me for not knowing his name, but even the part where he is rapping, singing, speaking, whatever you want to call it, that's elevated. I'm not a fan of that necessarily in the studio track. I think it works better in the staging here. That is elevated. It's just more intense. There's like a energy that you could cut with a knife. A tension is the right word. Like this is really, really good. I haven't got enough good things to say. This is one I would just say, just watch it tonight. You'll understand what I mean. This has really elevated his chances, not only to like be a definite qualifier from tonight, but to get into that top 10 spot. And yes, I know in my Shocking Moments video I said Albania might come outside the top half. This staging does deserve top 10. I'm going to say that now. So fair play, Albania. And the run actually now of good stagings does continue, because up next it is Netherlands with Claude and C'est la Vie. Some people didn't seem to like the staging. I actually rather enjoyed it. I was hoping they would do some one-shot action, and for the vast majority of this, it is a one-shot performance. The only downside to that is Switzerland also is one-shot, spoiler for them, like 2 songs later, which it's a peculiar choice that they've put those two so close to each other, especially because both, again, spoiler for my Switzerland review, very high quality. But what this performance does, it makes sure the focus is on Claude while adding some nice elements in that just make it very satisfying. Especially for me, as someone that loves lighting, there is elements and moments where the music and the lighting go hand in hand. Like when a note hits, the light comes on. Like, I love those little details. They are very, very satisfying. And on top of that, as I mentioned, the focus though is still on Claude. A lot of it is close up. There's not many wide shots throughout the performance. There's a couple at the end, but you know, they work with the performance. And there was something that just worked for me. It really stands out in this lineup because not a lot of these performances are only no LED, because this has no LED. This really stands out from that. And at the end, there's a little bit of a callback to in the music video where he's mimicking the younger version of himself's dance routine. Just really good stuff. Like, I'm very happy with this. I know some people are a little bit disappointed. I'm not one of these people. This is still my favorite personal studio song from semi-final 1, and I was not let down by the staging at all. So yeah, well done to Netherlands. Up next, we have Croatia, and I will say there is a lot to like in this. If any staging has been elevated drastically from the national final one, it is this. This is very good. I have to say, fair play to Croatia. There's a accordion at the start, and Marco just overall feels very more fantasy villain in a sense, which I think really works for this. There's a color scheme of pinks and greens, which again give the like moody Halloween vibe in this. I love the theming and the color scheme for this. I think it works perfectly, definitely tells the story very well. And yeah, there's just something that works a lot better. The vocals as well, for the most part, have improved since Dora, so fair play to Marco. And there's a lot of things that just click with me and work despite me not necessarily loving the song. The one thing I would say is a little bit of a letdown is I would love to see a little bit more focus on Marco himself during the performance. I think there's a little bit too many wide shots. It's a little too blurry. Like, just have a little bit more focus on him because he is the main antagonist in this story to an extent, or like anti-hero, however you see him in this song. And there's just not enough focus on him. I think it's too many wide shots. And I think he can carry it with a few more close-ups. So that's a shame, and to be fair, that is something that might hold it back from potentially getting to the final, that lack of connection the audience have to Marco. But has this definitely given Croatia a way better chance of qualifying than it did beforehand? Absolutely. For the penultimate song that I'll be talking about, it is Switzerland, the host entry in the final of the automatic qualifiers, performing in the semi-final, and wow. This staging is a work of art. And I mean that in a double sense, because at the beginning, she looks like a portrait just singing, like, and the whole thing's stunning. It's one shot. It's very like handheld camera to an extent. It's very close up. It's just gorgeous use and great play of focus at points and lighting and a slight filter to the whole thing as well. Like, it's stunning. It's absolutely brilliant. The vocals are fantastic as well. Funnily enough, though, actually, at the end, her voice cracks a little bit, or just it doesn't quite hit the notes. And I was going to write that down, but then the person I was watching this with said to me, like, no, I don't think it was on purpose, but there's something raw about the fragility and nature of that slight, like, slip up. So whether that we kept in is like, you know what, I see what you mean there. And I think either way, it does work. Like, genuinely, I'd love to speak more about this performance. I really could, but my words do not do justice to this performance. Like, it is one of the best stagings I've seen in recent years. It's the best staging I saw last night. I just said during the recap, I was like, are you sure we can't play Switzerland again? Like, and you guys know I love this song, Voyage. Like, this could easily be my number one by the end of this week. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. This is one that you have to look out for tonight. Words do not do justice on my end to how good this is. And the last song in the semi-final is Cyprus, and I have a very good summary in 4 words. Visually impressive, vocally not. Like, for those that don't know, they are performing this on like a metal-like structure, and there is a lot of visually impressive moments in this. For the second time, we have a link to the Vesuvian Man, where Theo Evan and the rest of the dancers are like in the position of like do 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 do. I appreciate my hands go off the camera here, but you've seen the Vesuvian Man. If not, you'll see it tonight. It's the opening shot, basically. And I think shot is a appropriate word for this. There's a lot of impressive shots and a lot of impressive like visual moments. Like if you took a picture of certain sections, it would look really good. However, for me, it just lacks a bit of like personality. Like the staging has nothing to do with the song, and the song is a bit weird anyway, but just, yeah, it doesn't feel very cohesive. Like, it's visually impressive, and I think that's probably what they were going for, because, like, you know, why go for the song when you can have this visually impressive, like, movements with the staging and the props? But it just doesn't connect with me as much as it probably will other people. Like, it's, yeah, visually impressive, vocally not. Yeah, I forgot to mention vocals. They're fine, they're not amazing, and yeah, it's just, I still think there'll be an audience for this that will really enjoy the visual aspect of it. It's just, I maybe expected more, especially with Sergio Hyen as the stage director. The only other thing I'm going to talk about before I get onto my 10 predicted qualifiers is the new qualifier announcement system that was seen tonight for the first time. For those that don't know, it is fairly similar to the old system we have, except for every qualifier, apart from the last one, they're going to cut to 3 artists in particular, and one of them is qualifying. So it's not necessarily going to be any of the artists qualifying, it's only going to be narrowed down to 3 at a time. To be honest, I think overall it's a perfectly fine system in practicality. It does feel a little bit long. I don't know whether it's the same length as usual with the semi-final. It just, I don't know, there was something about it that felt long, whether it was just the way that the hosts were describing it throughout the thing. Yeah, so, but that being said, I'm not angry about it. It's a perfectly fine system. Whether it will continue on past this year, I do not know. And at the end, to be fair, they go to all of the countries. It's not just narrowed down to 3. So I do appreciate that. And also there is a rule that the artist can only appear 3 times. So you're not going to get a non-qualifier appear every single time and like feel gutted so many times, which it's a nice touch for fairness. So I don't think it's an upgrade on the previous qualifier announcement, but it's fine, I guess. It's not as bad as what they were going to try and do in 2023, put it that way. Also, a fun fact I forgot to mention, before they go to the voting, they cross to Martin Osterdahl, and instead of him speaking and saying good to go, he just gives them a thumbs up. I wonder after last year why that might be. So anyway, that is my review of semi-final 1 and the stagings in there. So now it's time for me to get on to my 10 predicted qualifiers. I'm going to be going from most likely to least likely, like I did with my prediction video back before the rehearsals started. So I'm only going to give you the 10. I'm not going to give you 11 to 15. So my 10 predicted qualifiers are, most likely is still Sweden. Second, I think, is Albania. Third, I'm going to say Estonia. Fourth is the Netherlands. 5, dropping down a little bit from where I had them initially, is Ukraine. 6, I have Norway. 7, I have Cyprus. In 8th, I have Poland, dropping down a little bit, but still in my 10. 9th, I have Belgium. And at 10, I still have Iceland. That's right, I've still got the 10 qualifiers that I had from my semi-final prediction video initially, just in a slightly different order. And for those wondering, the non-qualifier order is a little bit different. Slovenia and Croatia are 11 and 12 for me. I think those ones have given themselves a real chance of qualifying with their staging, but I do think they will borderline miss out. I will also put the 10 predicted qualifiers I've got here on my Instagram, if anyone was to follow me there. I have got my Instagram in the description in case, so be warned, I have got 9 out of 10 correct every semi-final for the last 6 semi-finals, so one of those is bound to be wrong. Who knows which one? I guess we'll find out tonight. But anyway, that will do it for this video. But remember, my thoughts are not the correct thoughts. It is just my thoughts. Let me know down in the comments below, probably after you see the performances tonight. What did you think about the stagings for semi-final 1? And who do you think will qualify from the semi-final? Who are your favorites tonight? And yeah, just happy semi-final 1 day, guys. It is very exciting. Once again, make sure to like this video if you enjoy it and subscribe if you're new to EC Harry so you do not miss any of the last remaining Eurovision 2025 content. I will be posting my live qualifier reactions to semi-final 1 from the village, so make sure to look out for that later today. All that's left for me to say is I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time for another video on this channel. Take care, guys.